So in the early 1920s, Hitler adapted this swastika to be the main symbol, his main front for destruction and chaos, But what the original symbol meant was, if you flip it around, the occult origin of this symbol means that you can take any symbol and you can flip it around, or you can invert it to make it mean anything you want, to make it change the meaning, or to make it mean something completely different. So Hitler took the swastika, which is a symbol of peace, and he flipped it around, and, So this Russia-Ukraine war started on the same exact day that Pfizer released their spreadsheet on the adverse reactions and side effects of the COVID mRNA injection, and one of those ingredients was a chemical compound called luciferase, which there's another one called Lucifer something or other, but it's found in it's a chemical found in the firefly. Side note, they've also got some other little luciferious microchip in there that lights up, and they also wanted to wait 75 years to release this document, if that's not suspicious. And Red Bull has speed and benzos and cough syrup and graphene in it. And they don't tell us this on the label. So what the fuck is that about? And these are the planets. They say that they're planets, but how do we even really know that they're different from stars? Do we have any evidence of this? I mean, they just look like stars. They look like any other fucking star in the sky. If you look at it through a telescope, they don't even look any further away than any of the other stars, but they say that they're planets. And, I used to be way deep into planets when I was a kid, stars, space, and all this nonsense. And I mean, if you actually look at it firsthand, it's not a planet. And they have all these gods and these fake, false Greek gods and these Greek idols to represent these planets. And what is it really? I mean, why do they have astrology, right? Why is that referenced? Did I do a good job? I'm gonna have to play this back now. So almost every police force logo is a Freemasonic logo. The Oscar stage is literally a giant Freemasonic logo. Adolf Hitler was an Ashkenazi Khazarian. The Rothschilds are Khazarians, and their family derives from Mongolian Eastern Europe. And they are Khazars. And they say that the Anunnaki, or the Watchers, are totally in cahoots with the current day Khazars, the Khazarians, and there's this whole conspiracy theory that they have to collect gold, and gold is special, and gold came from outer space, gold is extraterrestrial, and the truth of the matter is that, well, there's no big conspiracy theory to it. It's just they needed the resources for their nefarious inventions, their technology, what they've got nowadays. They've got this place in Marble Canyon called Hahanogi, which means too many washes, because they hosed it with a super powerful freaking fire hose, and that's why we've got these white marks here. This fuck shit, they hosed it for resources, and that's why the water there is always this mineral color, like yellow and gray, and it's lifeless too. The Hopi people, a Native American Indian tribe, named this place Hahanogi because it translates in their Indian language to too many washes. Now, thanks to AI, you can find no trace of this place on the internet, no reference to it anywhere you look, and they've completely eradicated all evidence of it. And this is Marble Canyon, and it's right next to the Grand Canyon, and this is all we have left. Trump is going to continue the Biden policy to continue to use Ukraine to fight Russia, and he appointed retired general and ex-advisor to Mike Pence, Keith Kellogg, to oppose the big threat of China. He basically said that if we can't send money to Ukraine and take out those Russians, it's going to be a third European war. RFK Jr. had ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Now they're threatening Iran. This whole assassination attempt was staged and gay. The bullets don't make a whizzing trail and streak like a video game when they go by, and to have this one high-resolution photo take the photo at the perfect time, the odds are against us. That's impossible. Trump elected Chad Chronister for the Drug Enforcement Agency. During COVID, this guy imposed a curfew for COVID, arrested a pastor for holding a church, refused to impose a curfew during the summer riots, imposed a stand down during the summer riots, supports DEI programs, implemented them in hiring, social distance on a boat, he says, 50 feet between boats to stop the spread. Got to get those cartel, keep causing problems. Some Jew in Israel said last week Pius organized a letter signed by over 1,200 rabbis agree to ask our elected officials not to halt or even limit the U.S. Refugee admissions program. Not just Pius, but plenty of Jewish organizations of all kinds. Right-wing Jews start wars, so left-wing Jews push refugees into white countries. I have a Mandela catalog. There was this 13-year-old boy named Max who exposed the logic behind the timeline shift. Donald Trump is the 45th and the 47th president. If you add 4 plus 5, it makes 9. If you add 4 plus 7, it makes 11. RFK Jr. said anti-Semitism is a virus. Bill Gates said no one will expect the next virus. Now, what do you think he meant by that? And Health and Human Services, ED, and GSA declared anti-Semitism as a public health emergency. They recreated the gene from the dire wolf, and they spliced it with a regular female wolf, creating this white dire wolf offspring. These things are extinct. They're gigantic wolves. They're going to have kids getting chased by dinosaurs in the future. It's going to be like Tokyo Jungle. Berlin, 1936, they had an advertisement saying you could talk to your bride across country, and not only that, but see her. Both parents have to have this MC1R gene to contribute the red-headed gene to the child. Nowadays, we need a college diploma to get a job. They only like what they're told to like. You act a certain way to fit in. You talk a certain way. You pick up on what the other people do so that you can fit in. Monkey see, monkey do. They had this experiment where they had 2 islands. Island 1, Island 2. Island A and Island B. They had monkeys on the island. Like 100 monkeys for each island. And the islands were separated by water, miles apart. Couldn't reach each other. They gave the monkeys bananas, and monkeys from Island A started washing the bananas off in water. And then all of a sudden, the monkeys from Island B started doing it too. The Aryans are aliens, and the aliens are Aryans. And the aliens are demons too, They lie about everything. The Tartarian era had Mercury-based hovercrafts. The Bible says there might be angels that walk among us that look just like people. Everyone that attacked me, they were all smiling for some reason in first grade. Every one of them had a sick smile on their face. Arizona 2025, there's this fake shooting at the start of the year. This kid only went there for a day, and they evacuated everybody on the football field. Nobody even knew what was going on. Beavers, they make lodges. Beavers' technology was used, to make the ancient pyramids. These beavers, they make a dam. It's shaped like a pyramid, but it goes all the way across. And inside the dam, they have what is called a lodge. And the Freemasons have taken the lodge, and they now use the beaver as a Masonic symbol. Here's these marble statues. They might be philosophers from the old world or Tartarian ages. We don't know what they did, but we do know that they left behind countless stone sculpts of Jesus Christ that were so lifelike you'd think that they were there with them. So they were the ones with the flying stone temples, our last civilization. It's a false sense of entitlement that you could just beat other kids because you have to do schoolwork just like everybody else. Can't blame you, everybody gonna respect the shooter. But what do you think that means? Everybody likes the kid that shoots his shot, the winner. Who controls history? The victor. The Romans, the Huns, or the Goths. Like, the ones they want us to look up to, these Greek gods and everything. Everybody gonna respect the aggressor, the winner. Nobody gonna respect the loser. But the one in front of the gun lives forever. They threw rocks at my head. They squeezed my best friend's ass. They commented on each other's butts all the time. Slapped them, and I have misophonia. I could feel sound. If my body's relaxed, muscle, if inoperative, half asleep, eyes closed, I will even see sounds in my head, in my brain. I can see lights under the right condition. A special kid fucking screamed in my ear back in like 7th or 8th grade. There was this one kid that wanted me to be a girl. There were 2 kids that were asking me to, oh god, I can't say that. Listen, there was one kid that wanted me to be a girl, okay? Mr. Stott was the only one who really cared for me, even a little bit. Those kids were stupid. They were comparing brushing your teeth to giving head, and it doesn't matter how many good things you do or how many good deeds you perform. It doesn't matter how much you help people. If you're in that position, you should quit your job. Kids get tried as an adult for defending themselves. Aliens are demons. Outer space is just the outside of space that we know, and extraterrestrial means extra land, extra terrain. Tartaria means unknown land. Tartarian means unknown. Tartarian era. Video games don't teach you how to do anything in real life. Movies are just there for something for you to turn to when shit hits the fan. They just rolled out the digital ID this month in May, and it makes it to where you can't travel, or they say you can't enter a federal building if you don't have the digital ID, and if they deem you as some sort of threat, or if you speak out against things. Elon Musk was sporting this red armor with an upside down cross, the race of the Red Dragon clan, the assimilation, humiliation, neglect. It's a 3-step program. You take an innocent kid who's been disciplined, who wouldn't do anything, wouldn't say anything to anyone, no reason to attack anybody, send them to a school with undisciplined kids who have never been beat or never been hurt a day in their life, brought on by, this system, this cruel system that just hurts kids, man. It's a 3-step program, and they get them in middle school because they don't want you to fight in high school. They like to keep the fights young and do all that, paint that picture at an early age when they have no way to defend themselves. Would I willingly go to a school that was designed by people who forcefully put their seed in my ancestors? Hell to the motherfucking no. Dude, Pikachu, right here, man. Look at this. Pikachu, that is what I grew up with when I was a kid. For 1 month before I went to school, every day I would watch the original Pokemon series, and this is what he looked like right here. Whatever happened to that? They seem to just come and change things all of a sudden. Misophonia is a form of autism. It means it's the real Pikachu. It means the aversion of noise, but it's not a mental condition. Studies show that the patient's body will react to noise. That's why I feel uncomfortable around drinking and eating sounds. I'm sensitive to sound. And if I could leave you with one quote, just in case anything happens to me, it's that I just wanted to be somebody who could make people feel like they could do anything by themselves, and I'm sorry if I failed my mission. This 13-year-old boy, Max, exposed the logic behind the timeline shift with the Particle Hadron Collider and CERN and the Mandela Effect situation, the universes theory, multiverses, how it all connects, how the mathematics behind it, and the notes were changing behind his back. The masks don't stop kids from getting sick. They don't stop the exhalation of viruses. They don't stop the inhalation. They just keep painting kids as a bunch of worm-infested parasites. And when there's an outsider ant, or when the ant does something wrong, they form a circle around it, grab each leg and pull, and an ant will come up from behind it and start eating its pack. It's like if you don't follow protocols or orders. Like if you're in kindergarten and you don't know where the cubby is, or if you don't know where the book is, if you don't know which cubby to put your work away, and you fuck up, you make a mistake. Industrial people, killing for what they believe in, just like ants. Explain how to know. Shills. There's 2 different kinds of shills that I know. There's ones that walk on eggshells, clearly reading from some teleprompter script, just like I am right now, except they just don't want to say certain things, can't make certain points, right? And other kinds, they're just doing what I'm doing right now, they've got a list of talking points, and that's what it is. It's all scripted. We are the actors. This is the play. Colorology. They always have, the kindergartens are always colorful. 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 1st grade, nothing is ever colorful. It's always this beige, gray color shades. And they do that because in the world, everything is so colorful. The posters, the movies, the industrial world is a very colorful place. They make it that way. They enhance the colors on purpose. They turn the hue up and they saturate them to the fullest extent. Teen suicides, they don't care until after the kid, commits suicide. Janitors, teachers, administrators, staff, they're all lizard lovers and they're rapist condoners. Bullies are cowards that pick on the weak, and the thing that cops and pedophiles have in common is that they're both predators. We've got this plaque, and these Chinese settlers that came in, Chinese pioneers, and they use that thing as target practice because they know it's full of shit, so they fill it with holes. Nobody likes the nice guy. And you never notice people don't ever travel anywhere, move anywhere unless they have family in the location. And like I said, do whatever you want behind closed doors, but like on a bus full of kids, that's why they come up with the expression, get a room. Just take them and throw them on a bus, right? That's weird. Who would want to die in a school, though? I mean, it's like the worst place to die. You don't see a world where you're not going to have to, possibly kill somebody one day in self-defense. Me, I left school, and Skylar, my best friend, was valedictorian. Mrs. Holes made him cry over not doing his homework, and nobody else did that day. They talk down to us. Teacher thinks that they're so smart for winning an argument with a sleep-deprived, suicidal insomniac with no source other than the book. A made-up argument. You can debate me based on the book I gave you. It's blackmailing. Using CPS as the usher, right? Using the truancy officer as a threat against the parent. They'll lure your kid to school, and then everything is fine. But if you don't, they threaten to kidnap your kid. The ultimate form of blackmail on the largest scale. 1 through 4G radio waves, they shoot up and then they bounce off of the firmament. And that is why they first came out with FM radio for nighttime frequencies. 5G shoots directly towards you. Mom never told me to get old, and that is exactly what happens when they stress you the hell out. I tamed a stray cat in Missouri for my cousins. I was only 6 and it walked up to me. There was no stress and no pain back then. This world is an evil place. Every fight I've been in is like being in a dark place surrounded by lights. We'd be raising the test scores if we got rid of this school here in elementary Glen, right, Oregon, right? It's a small town. They'd be raising the test scores because 8th graders are performing like at a 3rd grade level, and it would raise the test score significantly for everywhere else. With no middle school, eventually there would be no need for high school, and no point of course, pre-K and preschool. It's to expose your child and indoctrinate them at an early age, get them used to the idea of being told by someone who isn't your parent. My cousin almost died from a flu shot that my uncle made him get because the school made him get it because it's mandatory for him to be with the other kids. They make you get a flu shot. They want us to think, ooh, sickness, germs, viruses, parasites, just like the AI cats, right? They need a place where the kid can't think for himself. That's why they made school. Some kids are more sensitive than others. I can feel sound. I can even sometimes see it when my eyes are closed. gosh. People don't travel. A dog will only know the land that it is given to him as its entire world. Okay, you keep a dog trapped in a certain 20 square miles, and that will be its entire world. Nephilim bred with women and animals, you know, and they had women as captive. The people that first came into our country, who they say were the Pilgrims, had kept Native American women captive as slaves and forced to breed with them, and they killed their husbands. That SWAT team guy, he had a friggin' magazine belt layout like he's ready to take on the whole school. And what do you have? You have nothing. You have no weapons, no way to defend yourself if anything happens. And only when you're an adult you look back on these things and realize what it really meant. Luciferase is a tracking device. It glows, right? Chemical compound found in the firefly. It glows. It's a way to keep track of those who've been vaccinated. Each individual has a Bluetooth signal. The YHVH strand is destroyed and it's desecrated after the jab. The jabs create a new strand of DNA, and anyone who is a parent with this jab will have a third strand of DNA in their child. M is for modified. They're creating a new people. You know, if Jesus Christ is back, or if Jesus Christ came back a second time, and if this is Satan's little season, then that's the big secret. They don't want us to know. That's why they have the Christians in school and have them keep believing this lie that Jesus is coming back to save us when he might actually still be here in the flesh a second time. You know, if this is Satan's little season, they don't want us to know. It's a big red flag. They want to give Christians hopium, you know. Also, these kids are going to school a second time and they don't even know it. Some of them, they're not told how to listen to their souls. There's proof that humans have souls. Alex Jones actually showed footage of light entering the embryo upon the moment of conception. All Christian morals are morally acceptable. Bible teachings are morally accurate, but it's not up to God anymore. God saves souls. He doesn't win fights for you. I remember in kindergarten that the teacher conducted a survey on which kids were pro-weed and which kids were anti-weed, and she just said that it's bad for driving, it makes you stupid, it makes you bad, and then you shouldn't take it. And who's for weed and who isn't? You know, marijuana is a Class C misdemeanor in Missouri. It's cultivation of a mind-altering prohibitor. But, you know, the particle mimics the human brain reciprocator, sparking thoughts. You know, it's good and bad memories go. But why make it illegal, right? You can actually skin it and braid the skin into a rope. It works really well. People were so distraught over 9/11, but the TV shows and movies all predicted 9/11. You know, Donald Trump is the 45th and the 47th president, which 45, 4 plus 5 equals 9, and 4 plus 7 equals 11. United States Patriot Act, right? Elastic gloves, shoving their fingers up your arse if you have a beard and look like a Muslim at the airport. OGs, the original Germans, they called them the Franks. You know, and I said that the Holocaust was, or what if the Holocaust was a Holocaust on the German people? Basically, do you really think that the same people that made all these and arranged all these necropolises and these catacombs and don't tell us who these skulls are, do you really think that they would want us to know the exact numbers of how many people were killed? Right? That's my only point. Chemtrails have these little microparticles, shreds of aluminum and chrome, you know, metals, reflective materials that block out the sun's natural halogenic yellow color. They get trapped in the atmosphere. The entire world receives tech blueprints in 2 weeks for all these machines, for all these weapons. Companies, manufacturers, planes, tanks for the Germans. Each plane is the same, just slightly reconfigured and reformatted with slightly new symbols. They go the same speeds. Clearly just technology that was re-given to us. I was getting dragged out of bed every morning for school, and my grandma's last point, you know, she had a nightmare where people were running down the streets naked, trying to kill themselves, and they couldn't. They were screaming. Video games are just there to make you not know how to do anything in real life. Movies are just there for something for you to turn to when shit really hits the fan. The Bible said that Jesus healed the blind by spitting into his hands, rubbing it together, turning it to mud and dirt, and he rubbed it into the dude's eyes and face and across his eyes, and now the Bible's saying he spit in his face to heal the blind dude. And we have this picture taken in the 80s of my mom and my grandma at my aunt's wedding. In the picture, my mom and grandma looked completely different. My grandma had crooked, slanted teeth that were never straight, bent, stood out a little bit grubby, and we've never been in state before many times when I was little. When we moved here, she had completely straight teeth, clean, like in the photo when we first got here. The photo changed when we first got here. My mom was different in the picture had changed when we got here. My mom, she's the same. My grandma, great-grandma was the same. My aunt's the same. My uncle's the same. But my grandma is different. She treats us like she doesn't even know who we are anymore. No matter how hard she tries to understand, she's just not the same. We're not from her universe, which really makes you wonder, is there another version of me and mom out there that were placed in another universe with the real grandma? Anyhow, there was this Jew on YouTube that said the first Aryans were Jews, and the first thing I thought was it was BS, but I think that there might be something to that. Beavers' lodges have dams on the inside, Beavers have what they call lodges on the inside of the dam. The dam is like a mountain made of dirt shaped like a pyramid, but long enough and stretched out from one side of the river to the other. They hollow out a lodge on the inside and use sticks and other various resources of kindle jammed across the top to account for flood control. Yiddish are Ashkenazis. Their language is like a mix of traditional Hebrew and German. There was a trench in Germany that had a bunker beneath it. The bunker was a super long hadron collider. In other words, all the wars are a stage, and they just didn't want us to be there. They were covering it up, and in California, you can grow peyote as a house plant on your porch outside the front door, but you can't have it anywhere else. I looked in this anywhere from 2015 to 17. Laws are stupid, and the Native Americans can take it as long as they can prove that they're 1/4 or 3/4 Native American, and as long as they have a trip sitter with them for spiritual reasons, a spirit guide. Anyhow, colorology. So, purple is the color of knowledge, and Cocomelon, the internet, kindergarten. Colorology is to associate colors with objects or environments, places, times, exposure to max 100 red, 100 yellow, on the color settings, 100 green, putting kids in oversaturated environments so that they associate colors with education, billboards, games, and the business world, or the strip club. The world is a colorful place. You don't need a college degree to see it. I was put in this GATE test. It's a program in preschool or pre-K daycare. They have protocols in daycare for what to do with these gifted and talented kids. Preschool and pre-K have the option, but from my knowledge, it's primarily intended for grade school. They discreetly conduct tests on me, which were basically unconclusive because they had handed me some papers and some graphs that looked like alien writing or little hot tub jets, but some of them were gray, some of them were white, and some 3D polymer plastic silicone shapes, and I was confused why I was put in this room with this blonde lady who wanted me to do something with this shape, so I attempted to grandeur a response out of her and communicate non-verbally, or make noises and show actions to communicate with her in order to get her to explain to me what's going on, and all she wanted me to do was something, and she left to consult someone on my inconclusive results, and I was rejected from the program. You know how some kids skip a grade? The GATE program is for advanced learning alongside your peers. It might not be as sinister as you might think, but there is a lot of sinister aspects to it. It's like a CIA program or something. They want all the fights to happen to young kids in elementary school and in middle schools They design the system to where if you fight in elementary school, the repercussions are not as harsh, less bad, suffer less repercussions for fighting. In middle school, you get suspended for fights. In high school, they have the option or choice to expel you if necessary. Same for smoking and drinking in middle school. Elementary, you can usually get away with it, Also, them saying it's only a small percentage of, people who haven't been vaccinated. It's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. We got to make sure this thing stops from spreading. It's only a small community of people and kids who haven't been vaxxed. Is them really saying, why don't you die? Why don't you get killed? Why don't you roll up your sleeve and have us kill you? I admire and respect the kids who go through their own problems and get beat up and get back up on their feet as if nothing happened. I respect the hell out of them for that, and I honor them. And when you go to school, all the lights are on you. So take a list of these laws, present it to them, and that's what we call making a stink about it. We can't keep letting them get away with this. We can never forget the stillbirths, the defects from the vaccine, for feminizing kids, telling us to get killed. We must not stand for this. If you find out where your bully lives, follow them to the store, bust him over the head with a British police baton, or bash his face with a freaking billy club and scream, yeah, that's what you get for what you did to me in 6th grade. And then, same with these Twitter and Facebook NPCs who call the cops on everybody for no reason. Shills don't want real justice because the system gives them a reward for their behavior towards innocent children who are taken advantage of, easily learning that they can fight using the system to get suspended. In the future that Donald Trump wants, the law will change to suit the individual, not the other way around. They need people like me to die. They hate redheads. Bullies are sadistic, so why did they not teach me the definition of sadism? You monsters, why? Anyhow, when Donald Trump was on Joe Rogan right before he got selected, Joe Rogan said we should fund the police and give them more training, more tools, and more money and men at their disposal. Trump agreed, saying, that Kamala, I hear she really likes to defund the police. And Joe Rogan was like, defunding the police is like a Democrat ideology. It's a human ideology. Joe Rogan and Andrew Tate both say, if you want to learn how to get stronger, if you want to learn how to fight and kick ass, you need to watch Reels. There were Scythians in Canada, Bulgaria, Germany. In rare maps, they have Space Force, the military, SpaceX, which is Elon, and they're trying to kill God. We don't know what they're doing. We can't go from Alaska to Russia. They have it all, barricaded. Antarctica had mountains, ridges, and bumps on the map. Now it's flat. They use a white JPEG all over Antarctica and the North Pole. Native Americans were black with slight red skin pigment. Yeah, that's why I get sunburnt easy. The Native American Scythians would have picked up a lot of experience on their travels. Christians have to go to school. They want Christians to think that Jesus will come back for the millennial reign, when in reality he already did. They go extensively out of their way to ensure it. Perfect. You're all being decepted, just the way they want it. This is all the age of deception, and you're all doing his bidding for him. The Tartarians built statues of Jesus and Lucifer so vivid that it was almost as if they were actually there in the flesh. Same people that know all about the people that tried to patent free energy cars and got assassinated for it, and Waco say, well, you gotta look at it from the other side. What other side is there? Us versus them? These teachers, they're just a bunch of niggerizers. My mom's company, she worked for Silicon Valley, San Diego, California. Went head-to-head with Bill Gates' company to compete to see who could, own Microsoft. He got the role because my mom's boss slept in, just like Michael Jackson on 9/11. Michael Jackson didn't make it to the World Trade Center buildings alongside with a list of other various celebrities on 9/11. Anyhow, there's one of two possibilities for the multiverse theory. It's either there's two or more universes where things are slightly different but relatively the same. People remember it the way it's always been, and some people don't. To the extent of that, we'll never truly know. Someone did. Anyhow, they threw me into a fight I wasn't prepared for, even though I didn't want to fight, and no one showed me how. Therefore, I'm not going to sit around while innocent kids are being purged. Why shine your light for these people? Why cast pearls before the swine? Why cast your pearls before the swine? They don't need to see your strength, your weaknesses, your soul, your energy. Why give that to them? Your time. Because they're jerk-offs, and they steal the kid's soul along with his or her good, bright intentions. NPCs are the only ones that work, and who can do the work, somewhere in the chaos, we all find ourselves. This destruction is the only tale we tell. White is black, and black is white. Right is wrong, and wrong is right. Nothing ever fills this hole inside your heart. It's Crush 40. All hail Shadow. They don't want you to provide real justice. Welfare recipients receive $100 a month per kid, CPS. So how do you think they're going to get rid of all these black people who are already living in this country? It's not that they're bad. It's not that we need to get rid of them, but even the gangsters who have already been here are starting to get a little bit pissed off that there's all these new black guys coming in the mix. CPS can't take a kid without a court order. They have to go through an investigation, paperwork. That's why police are the only ones who are allowed to take your kid into protective custody. They only do that to give them time to do the paperwork so that they can keep the child in protective custody, except school. When you sign your kids to school, you lose your parental guardianship with your kid. To your kid, you have to love everyone because the Particle Hadron Collider always targets the things that are very forgettable, that we always never take the time to embed into our existence to think about. It always takes the things that we never think about. Case in point, specifically 4 points. 1, millennial reign cover-up. They've covered that up, and they go extensively out of their way to make sure that good Christians are thinking that Christ is going to come back for the first time. It's going to be crazy. But he might already be here right now. 2 is the native Scythian Indian cover-up. How they've pillaged, and the first people that came into this country, who they say were the Pilgrims, pillaged and murdered Indians, native Indians, and they also killed all of the other Tartarians or Aryans and assimilated them too, but that just doesn't get talked about as much. But the law, the school breaks every day. That's the third thing. The laws that these schools break every single day, that they get away with, and no one ever talks about. I mean, do you really think that the same people that killed the most valuable races and arranged their bowls, do you really think that the people that killed the most valuable races and arranged their bones and skulls in catacombs and necropolises would really want us to know the real statistics of child death here in the United States? I think not. Hitler didn't kill himself in a bunker. Argentinians know that. He had 2 kids, and they had him enter what's essentially the elite's own witness protection program. They managed to escort him through interconnected tunnel systems to planes that took him to submarines and got him out of that whole mess. They throw you in there during a time of heightened awareness, They throw you in there during a time of heightened senses, hyper-awareness, a section in your life, the time where your hearing, seeing, feeling, contact, smelling, taste are keen, and not to mention your thinking, emotion, your seeing, coming into contact with these experiences and scenarios for the first time. It is a mental, intellectual brain explosion. Life creates the most challenging events to throw at you, and in a time itself that's really super sensitive and fragile, easily tainted and highly manipulatable. I was the problem, and when I lost the fight, you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow, because opportunity goes once in a lifetime. Never understood that verse in my life. Always played through my life as if it was some game and it didn't really matter. The only thing that mattered to me, the only thing that was important to me was my friends, my family, and the good times, but also the bad times, the learning, because I have lost. I've fallen like Lucifer and lost my way. I've been cast out of society as a whole and lost any and all approval from my peers. They hated me, and I hate myself. And I should have never shown my light to this evil world. They abolished me, and I'm stuck here in this pit. I wanted to show people the light in me, which got taken from me. Extortion. Remember, your time is currency, and teachers make a certain amount of profit from endorsing the system, just like how ATF is required to forcibly remove firearms from law-abiding citizens statistically, because they don't know how to target the real felons. We'll never find the real felons. We don't know how many people are in this country. They're hiding land. If you look up the, youth deaths on YouTube, it just comes up with a bunch of black kids from another continent. They've been doing that for a long time. I can't perceive fear the same way. I can't imagine the same. I can't think for a moment without having that memory play on loop over and over again. My mistake. No one ever taught me what I did wrong. Should I die because something I did wrong? No one loved me. I wanted to share my love with everyone, but it doesn't work that way. Now I am become terrorist. I am become terrorist. In order to throw a proper punch, you have to put body torsion into it. And that momentum and that force will drive enough impact into your opponent's skull to deliver unconsciousness or, besides just being dazed and confused, drowsiness. And sometimes you gotta be a bit of a terrorist to save your country. Behind every planet is a false god, a demon. The USS Liberty was a naval warship that was off the coast of Israel during the 1967 war. It was an intelligence collector, and it collected signals from Russia in Cairo, Egyptians, but also the Israelis. It was in international waters the whole time, but on June 8th, in broad daylight, Israeli aircraft they saw the USSL flag, left Israeli bomber fighters, tried to sink it. It was in international waters the whole time, but on June 8th, in broad daylight, Israel aircraft saw this USSL flag, left, and then fighter bombers tried to sink it, and then torpedo boats tried to sink it, and they went back to port. In Malta, 34 sailors, U.S., were killed. 170 were injured. When they woke up the next morning, they were told by U.S. naval officers of superior rank, if you so much as mention that the Israelis did this deliberately, even to your wife, you're subject to court-martial. One of the Navy reached out to 6th Fleet headquarters during the battle, and the commanding admiral, to send bomber fighters to battle with whatever was attacking the USSL. Halfway there, they were called back by the U.S. President Lyndon Johnson and Secretary McNamara. In 1967, the Israelis learned that they could literally get away with murder. Ray McGovern, co-founder, Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, VIPS, the whole thing was covered up. Israel was going up to the Golan Heights to take those heights from Syria. They captured about 1,200 Egyptian soldiers in Sinai and asked them to dig their own graves. Shot them because these stupid Israelis thought the USSL was trying to communicate with Egyptians using the CIA station from the middle of the east, with the Liberty intercepting the initial message. You can call it an alliance, but it's the kind of entangling alliance that George Washington warned us about. The cheetah is clearly a gene-spliced hybrid creature, tail like a whip, legs like a thoroughbred, and the body and thing that looks like a giant greyhound. Could have been man's best friend or a hunting body. The synagogue of Satan worships Baphomet. There was a place called Khazaria. The Khazars were the ziggurat people, and Russia used to be Tartaria. Tartaria used to be Tartar, and at one point it was called Scythia, or there was a place next to there called Scythia. Millions of different walking gait animations these high-tech state cameras scan. They have millions of different walking gait animations, and they scan the upper eyebrow region. My mom and my uncle saw a fairy one night in the hot tub, and it was different colors. And the only way I know this is I didn't see it, but they came to me as if this was a real thing that actually had happened. And I know that they're not playing a trick on me. They've actually seen something out there. They were in shock. And he said that it was like gray or white, or no, he said that it was blue, and she said that it looked silver, something like that. Fairies that, and he's a guy and she's a girl, so maybe it's has something to do with gender and the way that they perceive things, but fairies that are so fast that they can shoot through the sky like lightning and drain the energy from the telephone poles, right? The electric grid. And the people that we call Arabs, they shake with their left hand because most people wipe with their right hand. The Japanese made toilets that were like robots. They were like transformers with a million different buttons and a built-in computer. They've been doing that since the early 2000s or before. Nikolai Romanov, Tsar, the last Tsar of Russia. The city of Glendale was founded by Solomon and Abraham in the 1800s, who were exalted by Alexander the Great, or Alexandria, Russia, or something, because of anti-Semitism. But that's complete bullshit, because Romanov Tsar was the ruler of Russia, and he was the guy who, him and his family, were killed by the Bolshevik Zionists. Solomon and Abraham were the same Russian Jew group that killed the Russian Empire, including killing his whole family and even the family dog. We've got a sign up here in the city to this day, right in the park, right next to the strip, that explains this whole thing in the bullshit narrative. The human experience is just a series of paths with variables and different outcomes. As you become an adult, you realize that the pain and stress and little things in life are... As an adult, you realize that the pain and stress are the things that make us older. Physically, the worst way to be is hateful. Make sure that what happened to me and all these other teen suicides never happens to anyone ever again by any means. The AI can steal your voice, call your grandma and say, "It's me at the I'm in the hospital trying to take money." Scammers, it's the nice kids who we need to protect, usually the attractive guy. Just think Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and even YouTube. Kids get their hands on computers at an early age. Look at the other kids fighting, learning. Kids who don't want to be a part of this will be ridiculed for not going along with it. Viewed as an outsider amongst their peers, a traitor to the club, the cult, because you want to look out the window and you want to build something and talk to the animals. Talk to the animals and not take shit from other kids. So... or adults, and they don't like you don't like it when other kids start blasting out, gangster music, right? Undisciplined kids have siblings to learn to fight and threaten each other with behind their parents' backs, guardians to teach them how to throw a punch, wrestling, TV, fight videos all day, and later taking that same skill set to school with them and beating an innocent kid's ass, and they get away with it because behind the teacher's back, they get away with it behind the teacher's back. Ruffle them up, discombobulate them, destabilize them so that they can't speak for themselves. The disciplined kid is nice, would never hurt a fly. Teachers, bullies, police are all enablers, jerk-offs, and eventually you get what you fucking deserve. Kids have internet access. Kids with internet access have things like slop and chicken jockey. If they don't like the slop, they turn to, fight videos. Kids that don't like the internet miss out on all the great advantages like gore sites and Twitter that teach you what killing looks like, how to do it, and the necessary tools that you need. Just what you need to do it, turning kids into ruthless killer soldiers, trigger-hungry communist machines ready to snuff out the weak and lash out at any given moment. Leave them alone! They shouldn't have to slay for people who aren't better than them, girl. And they can't even think or make decisions for themselves. And if you keep pushing them, you will have hell to pay. Media teaches undisciplined kids how to kill. The school gives them a reason and gifts them with a 3-day suspension as a reward. I could have sworn there was an 11th commandment in there. Thou shalt not get caught. You go to the fireworks stand, 80 to 90% of the fireworks are illegal. Only the cops can buy them because they have a permit. And it's really easy to make an explosive. They make it look impossible in the movies and TVs. They always make it drawn out for like 30 minutes or the whole movie. But all you really need is an explosive substance in a contained environment with a fuse. Shards of the fragmented object will fly off in various miscellaneous directions and locations, hence the name fragmentation grenade. They like chaos. People that call the cops, they like the chaos. People that call the cops and give them a reason to exist. And neighborhood watch, Twitter, Facebook, keeping people turned against each other, always talking about one another behind each other's backs. They love it. They call the cops to give them an excuse to work and make money. I could sit in a bush on the side of the highway eating donuts and I wouldn't be making any money off it. Teachers think they're so smart for calling out a kid with no time to reference source material outside of what the school gives them, who's been bullied, abused, and has mental health issues, already has problems, and is autistic. Smart creating a problem where there doesn't need to be one, putting me in a situation alone as a kid where I need to fend for myself and fear death every day. Bullies have never had anything bad happen to them. Bullies never have anything bad happen to them. Not hurt, not touch, not bad. Parents let you get away with anything that you want. Then siblings to train with. And they're stupid, but the lonely, no friends, nobody to care for them is the one who's going through hell. And they've already got so much to deal with at home. Kids that don't come out and say that they're in pain are the ones suffering. Everybody, all these teachers need to stop. Leave them alone. Leave the kids alone, or I'll do something about it, because if I hear one more story or one more person saying that, oh, it's really bad now, or if I hear one more fight story coming out of that middle school, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I'm going to lose my shit. They say that we're so advanced, wiping with leaves, wiping with wiping. They say that we're so advanced back in the 1700s, wiping with leaves, wiping with butts on rocks, and our ancestors were so advanced that they were wiping with dead animal fur, and the Romans were so advanced that they wrapped a sponge around a stick. The stuff that they teach us in history class, man, the stuff that the biggest shill that I know is Y-Files, He's always got a checklist of things to say and theories that usually are borderline true and false. It's like he's got a checklist of all the little conspiracy theory talking points that he needs to make, but he always declassifies it in the end of every episode, right? It gives you the real truth. Max Egan is too old to be going out and doing craziness. Alex Jones, Owen Schroyer are good examples of shills, but it's like their settings are being tweaked by the cabal or something. Case in point, with the whole black people thing, who doesn't like chicken and watermelon? Nobody ever wanted me. Nobody ever wanted to hear what I had to say. Nobody ever listened to me. Nobody cared. So why was I there? Nobody loved me. Now I can't function anymore. Can't think anymore. I'm not a kid I'm not the kid that I was, They got to me and tore me to shreds. I feel like a worthless ant. You brought me down. I can't focus or concentrate without constantly feeling like I'm going to be attacked or jumped or killed by someone. Some stupid redheaded Irish kid from Riddle that everyone likes. I want to die. I don't fit in. I don't like to be here anymore. I never felt comfort. I never got peace or a good life. You took that from me. I just wanted it to end. I don't want it to be over. I don't want to live anymore. I just want it to die. People only make me hurt worse. The people that know about it don't do anything about it and don't quit their jobs. They're jerk-offs and fucking psychological damage, man. My neurological pathways have been abused with the punch. I can't control my left hemisphere, and my cerebral cortex and the front part of my head feels funny. They always get away with it until it's too late. Always. Remember how I said you have to have freedom in order to be free? Right? You have to be free from an opposing force, the ruling class, whatever. Look at Lucifer's broken chain. She's got a broken chain, right? And they do that on purpose because it's freeing Lucifer from the pit. The exact angle measuring 137 is called the golden angle. Nautilus shells can fit the angle. It is in the face, hands, arms, and even fingers. It's even in the DNA molecule structure. Each complete cycle of the double helix spans 34 angstroms representing its helical length and 21 angstroms in width representing its diameter. These numbers follow the Fibonacci sequence. 34 divided by 21 results in the divine proportion. This can heal or repair the body if geometry layout is correct for all these old world buildings. They amplify, the old world buildings use the golden ratio, Fibonacci spirals, octagons, and sacred geometry in their architecture. The shape of the building aligns with frequency harmonics. The layout of the buildings were made for resonance to conduct and amplify sound and energy. Notre Dame Cathedral, Paris, France. St. Paul's Cathedral, London, England. Collin Cathedral, Germany. Strasbourg Cathedral, France. Seville Cathedral, Spain. Milan Cathedral, Italy. And the Mormon Tabernacle, Utah, had old world organs that were all detuned and destroyed by what the internet refers to as cucks. The only thing they were able to locate the source material used to construct these buildings: granite, limestone, quartz, megaton slabs of pillars, giant blocks, walls, roof, and a floor tile foundation materials with piezoelectric electromagnetic properties. Being a main character is not a syndrome. main characters get picked on and bullied, and they're usually the hot ones. Pretty handsome. If not, very much on the outside, definitely on the inside. INFJs are the rarest personality types, but you seem to like killing them. All the teen suicides are INFJs. They're all against you if you're an HVT or a main. They'll set you up just like they did with me. I'm here to warn you. Nobody is going to have your back. No, you see all these TikToks. There was this TikTok where there was a camera, right? They're taking a picture, and they take the camera and they put the camera in front of a piece of paper, right? They put the camera in front of a piece of paper and they take a picture, okay? And it burns a hole through the paper. And these are the cameras that they're using to record the school fights, Golden showers and sliming my homeboy will never undo the psychological damage that the school has ensued. When I finally got a chance to think for myself, I realized I was too young to understand what was going on, what it meant. I was like, I had downs. I had no self-awareness. I wasn't cognitively aware. I didn't have properly developed motor skills because of the pressure and confusion were the only things that I was greeted with. And then I was punched. It seemed like everyone just automatically knows where everything is. Other kids weren't shy to ask for help. The other kids were automatically, at the start of the year, following a strict, unspoken set of rules. They knew that I didn't. And that is what you can expect if you're going to an elementary or middle school. I could see that they wanted to attack me. They were going to kill me, and we were just supposed to get along as friends. They forced me to be there, and for what? So they could expunge me, so that they could remove me from this reality and send me to another dimension for existing, bring me there so that you can slime me out in front of everyone, as long as they know how to get away with it, right? I never wanted to hurt anyone, because I guess what I get what I fucking deserve, I guess. The old world bells probably had a resonantial frequency relative to that of the frequency or vibration experienced in a specific location at a certain time of day. In other words, they could be activated as a certain time of day or month. That's why they all have cracks in them, because of cucks. Historians coming along and breaking the bells. That's why the broken bell is a Freemasonic symbol, the cracked bell. They need to stop. I can't take any more. You're gonna force my hand. Slow your roll before you become too irredeemably far ahead of yourselves. You already crossed the line. There is a line with the kids, okay?